Yeah, just a couple of questions on Jawan Mitchell. First off, just what's your assessment of him in spring? What does he look like? I know he's limited a little bit, but what have you seen out of him?
He's still rehabbing that shoulder. He's in a yellow jersey. It's been all non-contact with him. He gets a little 7-on-7 work, but he hasn't done any 11-on-11 team reps. But he's been better. I think number one thing has been his attitude. You can tell he's really buying into the team concept here. It's always a hard thing when you get a kid out of the portal, going into a different program, different expectations, and different rules. And that was a struggle early, but he's been great. Attentive in meetings, been a great teammate as far as helping his teammates out, and has been good in the 7-on-7 so far. So it's been good.
And if he had never gotten injured last year, if he plays the whole 12 games, where did you see his season going?
It was getting better. Like I said, without the opportunity to go through the spring and the summer, it was a learning, curve for him. So obviously it was trial by fire. He got out there, made, some plays for us, but obviously, with the whole unit, wasn't good enough at times. And I felt like he was getting better before, we decided to shut him down. But our expectation for him is high. We brought him in, and he decided to come here because he wanted to play, for the Volunteers, but really wanted to have a chance to play at the highest level. And our expectations when we saw him was to play at a, very high level as far as linebacker in the SEC.
I know you don't reflect back a lot, you're moving forward, but how different is your life coaching linebackers this spring compared to what you were dealing with last year when you didn't have bodies? And how much better from a development standpoint will this spring be for your room?
We literally were just discussing that in the staff room. I mean, last year, some of you guys could have lined up at linebacker, and we probably would have been more successful. We were just short on numbers, and it was really just trying to survive the days. It wasn't the idea of trying to get better and progressing. We really couldn't get that because we had so many guys out or injured. And, you fast forward to now, it's a night and day difference. We have, 90% of the guys in the room outside of William Mohan and then obviously Jawan Mitchell. But everybody else has been there, having Jeremy Banks, healthy, having, obviously Aaron Beasley, back. Those are guys that started the majority of the season for us. And our main sub, Solon Page, is back. And, obviously Pat Garland. So we have so many guys that played for us in some capacity. Having them here in the spring has been a night and day difference.
Brian, I'm wondering with the depth, I know that, a lot of these guys have had more time to develop now. They've learned the system more. Other than those maybe top three guys that you've mentioned, are any of these other young guys getting themselves closer to looking like guys that can help y'all?
Yeah, that was one of our goals as a staff, was especially in the linebacker room, to try to find a way to develop some young depth. Obviously, we start with the youngest, in Elijah Herring. He's been doing a great job for a young man who should be getting ready for his senior prom. For what we've thrown at him, he's done a great job. So starting with him, these next 2 weeks, these next 7 practices are going to be really big for him. As far as if he's going to be able to help us next year, but he's done a good job. We've been excited about Pat Garland. We really want him to take that next step. He's kind of been teetering on a guy that we could count on, that we could throw in a game, because he has a great skill set, and we really want him to turn the page and become a guy that could become a rotational guy. Obviously, William Mohan being hurt kind of hurts some of his development, but we still have high expectations for him. And then, we have to talk about one of our transfers, Jackson Hanna, who transferred in from Nebraska. He's been doing a really, really good job. Obviously having some, experience playing in another Power 5 league. He's brought that, into the room and has been doing a great job. And then I can't leave out Aaron Willis. He's another kid that didn't get a chance to go through spring. He's been a pleasant surprise. He's starting to look like he's more comfortable in the system that we have, and has been making, plays every day.
Coach, following up on Elijah, how difficult is it to for a freshman to come in and learn linebacker where trust is so important? You have to know so many different aspects of the defense, and how has he sort of adjusted with the difficulty of that process?
It's difficult. And not only do you have to come in and learn a college system, which is always tough for a high school player. He's coming in the spring, so he didn't have the benefit of a summer, kind of a scouting report where he got a chance to kind of get his feet under him. And then you're going against one of the top offenses in the country that play with tempo, and you have to defend sideline to sideline, against these guys. So it's a challenge, but it's one of those things that when he can weather it and kind of it starts to slow down for him, his best days are going to be ahead of him, which we told him it's going to be rough. You got coaches yelling at you. You got teammates yelling at you, trying to get lined up, and they're going at warp speed. It can be overwhelming, but he's a super mature kid, and even when he makes mistakes, he's one of those kids that comes to the sideline. Before you can correct him, he'll tell you what he did wrong. And when kids do that, you know that it means something to them, and there's a really, really good chance that he's going to catch on, sooner than later.
Eric in the back left.
Jeremy Beggs made a lot of improvements, came a long way last year. What's that next step for him? How can he get better this spring?
I think we all would agree it's probably just playing under control. He is such a aggressive, player, which is what you want, but it has to be controlled aggression. And I think he's been better this spring. He's still going to play 100 miles an hour, plays the game the right way, right mentality, but he's got to do it within the framework of what our expectations are, on defense, and obviously what Coach Heupel's expectations are, as the head coach, but more importantly, what the officials' expectations are as playing clean football. And he's been better there, He's still one, we got to pull him back sometimes, but you'd rather have to coach that than the ones that you have to keep encouraging every day.
Brian, can you explain right now if you're in a better place numbers-wise to be able to cross-train guys at different linebacker positions, being that your numbers are maybe a little bit more manageable now?
Yeah, that's a good question. We, from day one, when we get into the room, we always say if we're talking to one guy, even though we're playing with a mic in the wheel, and then we have a big package where we put a Sam linebacker on the field, which has been good for us. So it's 3 guys on the field at once. It's actually been, a blessing because we can, mix and match guys. So we say if we're talking to one guy in the room, we're talking to everybody. So we expect everyone to at least be serviceable at all 3 positions. And that's the way it's taught in the room.
Go to the very back.
You said Elijah Herring needs to develop a little more over the next couple of weeks in order to get more playing time. What do you think are the most important things he has to develop in order to get that PT?
Number one thing, we just got done with our first scrimmage, so that was his, first opportunity and as live an action as possible. And the speed of the game, even though we practice it, every day. Now it was 11 on 11, no coaches on the field, getting lined up, the officiating, the tempo. That's the hardest part, coming out of high school is just learning the speed of the game, the speed at which you have to be able to, adjust, tackling bigger guys, getting off of offensive linemen, that are going to be more athletic and obviously a lot larger than what he played against in high school. But like I said, he's a mature kid, has a mature body. Once it starts to slow down for him, I think he's going to be fine.
Speaking of that first scrimmage, I mean, when you have a young guy like that, as a coach, do you like to kind of just throw them in the deep end and see if they can swim, or do you like to bring them along slowly?
You never want to kill their confidence, but you have to know how they're going to react in adverse situations. And I have to be honest, we want to get them reps, but we don't want it to affect the morale of the whole defense. So if they mess up, it's a touchdown, and, it kind of lets the air out the balloon because we're, allowing plays that should be stopped to be touchdowns or big plays. But we did get him in there quite a few times, and he made freshman mistakes, played hard, obviously cost us in some scenarios, but we didn't want to just throw him all the way in, and it turned into a bad day. And you guys all know morale is a big deal, and especially for a young kid, he already is feeling that pressure. You don't want to just kill it all the way by, putting him in situations where he couldn't be successful. But, you know how we coach. We're going to throw him out there, and he better know what he's supposed to do. And if he doesn't, we'll get it corrected on the sideline. But I thought he did a good job in some instances and really helped us. But like I said, in true freshman, form, there was a lot of plays that he left out there, just not ready to go and attack it the way we wanted to.
What appealed to you guys about Jackson Hanna just on film, and how have you seen him adjust just to the pace of play and everything that you guys are doing?
Jackson's been a pleasant surprise. Anytime you bring in a young man that has, obviously real college experience, he just has to learn how to play within our system. He has to learn how to play within our rules. But I think the speed of the game is not a problem for him. Obviously, where he came from, ran a version of a spread, probably not exactly like us. So I don't think the tempo bothers him as much. It's really the thing with him is just cross-training him and being able to be serviceable, like we said, at all three linebacker positions, which he's gotten reps at.
Coach, it's time for one more. Patrick.
Coach, you talked a little about developing depth earlier. How do you feel about maybe your top line guys with Banks and Beasley and some of those guys that have played for you?
Our goal coming into spring was we had to improve. We were right there on, what I would say average for this conference, and that's what our record, said based off what we did on defense. The only way we're going to take the next step is the things we weren't good at last year as far as getting off blocks. We can't play 1-for-1 and always count on the free hat to make the tackle. Playing under control with Jeremy and some of the other guys, and really just being more productive. We blitz a lot. We ask those guys to do a lot of different things in coverage, and we have to make more plays on the ball, whether it be as blitzers, on the quarterback, whether it be just playing physical and knocking the ball out and getting more tackles for losses. And the big thing is, with the way college football is going, is we got to make more plays on the ball, whether it be PBUs that lead to interceptions or interceptions ourselves. We got to do a better job in that because we're multiple enough that we're going to have the opportunities. We have to make those plays.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.